feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this is big thanks. Doing big things, we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front, I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap, never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode here on the Shrimp Tank, powered by Celsius Beverage. This is your first time tuning in. You catch all these amazing episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. This is where street smarts and book smarts collide, where we get to collaborate with the Florida Atlantic University and really get to interview the best and brightest entrepreneurs in and around South Florida. I'm joined every week by my co-host. He's the director of the Adams Center for Entrepreneurship and doing a lot of creative things right now with FEU Tech Runaway. Kevin Cox, what is happening?
Oh, well, it's an exciting time of year. Last week, we kicked off the signature entrepreneurship boot camp that I've been running for about a decade with the largest group ever. We had over 130 founders live in person last week. So the program's really grown quite a bit, and it's spinning so many great ideas and interesting founders, so much going on with AI, other kinds of software. We got some biomedical solutions in there, just a lot. So we'll continue to go with that program. I'll be doing that again tonight and for the next 4 weeks. And from there, we'll go into Global Entrepreneurship Week. The Veterans Entrepreneurship Program kicks off tonight. We had the AI Collective on campus last Thursday. A ton of stuff, man. So we are busy.
Yeah, I don't know how you sleep these days. Family, young children, and all these different projects that you're handling. And you're a professor of entrepreneurship, of course, at the university. So kudos to you, Kevin. Why don't we start things off with the elevator pitch? Why don't you explain it?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we encourage all our students to learn is how to deliver an excellent elevator pitch. 60 seconds, no more, to introduce yourself, tell the audience what you're about in a concise and effective way. So we like to have our guests on the show do the same thing. So you want to kick things off? We'll do 2 elevator pitches today.
Like this. 2 for 1.
Everybody, welcome. How would you feel about uncontested, hack-proof elections, left and right? Well, that's exactly what we do here at VotRite. We provide election solutions.
Wow. She's done this before.
Short and sweet. All right.
Thank you very much for coming here today, and it's our privilege to be here with you. How do you like to make sure that your vote and your voice is always heard, it's heard exactly once, and it's secure?
Okay, Kevin, they nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, for a company perspective, but what about a little bit more of a personal introduction? But they really nailed it. I mean, I want to buy into VotRite right away.
Okay, let's do
I'm sold on
that. Angelica, go for it. Tell us who you are.
I will say I've had an 8-page paper written in every school that I've been in. That creative expression from the South is not Angelica's strong suit. However, I will say Angelica Kapsis. I live mostly in New York, and our company is located in both New York and Florida. I come from a very unique background, a lot of first response military. I'm a veteran. I went through 5 different schools, different curriculums, and I'm very excited to be VotRite's president and owner.
Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher Baum. I am an MBA and a project management professional. I was recruited by VotRite 5 years ago to help shepherd them through the process of bringing these devices and solutions to market. I've been working in technology for over 30 years, built my first computer when I was 10 years old, and had to ride a dinosaur to Radio Shack to get the parts.
Radio Shack. I don't think many people in the room know what that is right now, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
They're not exactly around these days. They might be. I know they went through bankruptcy. I'm not sure if they still are around, though. Okay, this part of the show is really fun. The students every week are assigned a project, of course, and one of the students has to be a host of a game show. So they're going to create the rules for us. So come on down, and we're going to see who wins this show, of course.
All right, perfect. So my name is Gabby, and today we're going to be playing 2 truths and a lie. So basically, I'm going to read a blurb, give you 3 choices, and you guys are going to let me know which one is the lie. So the first one, we have Reed Hastings, the founder of Netflix, went to 2 universities before he became the founder. Bowdoin College, Stanford College, and Harvard College. Which one is the lie?
Harvard.
True.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, fast.
In 2004, by Steve Halley, Celsius offered its first line of flavors to the market that includes sparkling orange, kiwi guava, and sparkling apple.
Kiwi.
Apple.
Correct.
Yes.
I was going for that one.
I knew that one. I was too slow.
Too slow, Ken.
Reid Hoffman is a well-known American at the digital service today as founder and investor in tech companies like Facebook and Airbnb. He is also known for creating LinkedIn, Inflection AI, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Correct. Okay. This is going to be the company history of Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A was founded in 1967 by S. Truett Cathy in Atlanta, Georgia. The restaurant's original name was Eat More Chicken Cafe, and Chick-fil-A was open inside a shopping mall.
The lie is the name was Eat More Chicken.
Correct. The restaurant was initially called Dwarf
Of
Grill.
course. Yep.
So this is going to be the early life and education of Melanie Perkins, the CEO of Canva. She studied art history and music theory before turning to business. She was born and raised in Perth, Australia, and she dropped out of college at 19 to focus on her startup idea.
Dropped out of college at 19 is the lie.
False.
I just wanted to give somebody else a chance.
Kevin, it's your
I don't know. Is she not from Australia?
Yeah.
False.
Australia.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
know she's from
gosh. I
Perth.
was 50-50.
She studied communication, psychology, and commerce in West Australia. All right, so this next section is about Elon Musk. He taught himself computer programming at age 12. He co-founded Tesla from scratch, and SpaceX was the first private company.
He co-founded Tesla from scratch.
True.
That's a lot.
Okay, the next one is from Amazon. Amazon's first office had a spray-painted sign on the wall. Jeff Bezos chose the name Amazon to appear first in alphabetical listings, and Amazon was profitable from its first year in business.
Profitable first year in business.
True. It lost money for several years. The next one will be Mark Zuckerberg. He turned down multiple acquisition offers from Facebook before going public. He majored in business administration at Harvard, and Facebook was originally called The Facebook.
The first is false.
Wrong.
Oh, he was a business major. Is false.
Yes, he majored in psychology and
All right.
computer science. All right, these are going to be some general questions now. Mark Cuban sold garbage bags door to door at age 12. Warren Buffett once ran a pinball machine business, and Bill Gates started his first business selling sneakers in college.
Bill Gates.
True.
Yeah.
Right.
His first business was a traffic analyst company. All right, this will be our last one, and this is failures. James Dyson went into debt building over 5,000 vacuum prototypes. Jeff Bezos' first startup before Amazon was a failed social network, and Colonel Sanders was rejected over 1,000 times before selling his recipe.
Jeff Bezos.
It's true, he never had a failed social network. Right. I think that's all
Nice
for
work.
today.
That was great.
Good job, guys.
All right. Well, great. So in this section of the show, we get to know a little bit more about you and your company. I want to know about VotRite. We can do almost anything electronically, right?
That's
From our
correct.
phones. Like I have all these folders with all these apps. I can do finance and banking. I don't remember the last time I've been to a bank. Students can submit assignments, do their coursework, bother their professors. No, get feedback from their professors. Why can't we vote? And are we going to be able to vote? What are you doing? What are you working on? Tell us all about it.
So VotRite is a company that's already capable of being on the market. That means that we're finished. We've already done our developments, and we went through many prototypes. And the reason is that we were looking around at the competitors, and we're watching these competitors. They come in, they have foreign backing. They really might not understand the protocol of an American democracy, but they're running our elections for 3 decades straight. I'm not sure if any of you guys have been looking into that, but it's about the same companies. About 4 of them are certified. And no matter what's gone wrong, we haven't seen much turnover, right? So VotRite's primary objective, we sat alongside, we did our business, and we observed every minor concern. Now, we also consider that we do our online banking and we do it quickly, and we rely a lot on direct deposit, don't we? I mean, anything, even if we want to return, we hope that it's electronic, so it's immediate. And we're not afraid to open up our application anywhere in the world. And we're not always thinking, I need a VPN and then I need a dual server backup and I need to hide just to get into my banking information. But that might be the most important thing to you, right? So the most important thing to us was, how do we ensure that we cast a vote that's counted accurately no matter what? And that's what we worked on, and that's what we built. And we did so using two methods. One is our in-person voting system, the LT 2100 Titan. We're American Greeks. And the other one is our VotRite Mobile, which is becoming all the rage in Europe. And we're really excited to go a little bit deeper into those details. We did bring the compliance officer. So would you like to get more technical or a background first?
I want more background, because you started this company in 2017, and I could see you fuming. Like your voice, your energy levels are so high. So I could see the passion. And most people are successful when they have a lot of passion behind a business, right? And we see a lot of failures when people do things just for money, of course. So can you talk a little bit before 2017, what kind of led you to create this company?
Yes. So I've been shadowing James Kapsis, our CEO, who's off yonder observing. And I've been doing so since I was a kid, and I was very much interested in making an impact on the world, but I couldn't quite figure out what I wanted. I wanted to be a doctor, and I was very much into humanitarian efforts. So I was committed. So I was a firefighter from the time I could get my working papers, a candy striper, and I did all of these things to learn what to do when I come into a business role, right? Or when I own my own company. Hopefully it was going to be like a Doctors Without Borders, but this is really better, and I'll tell you why. So I went through all those skills, and I took the time. And of course, a parent to a kid, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go into the Navy. There's a war. I'm going to serve my country. And I know I'm a woman, but that's how I am. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. And he goes, he says, you're going to have a life after that. And he's like, you're going to go to college first. You're going to prove your worth as a human, right? Your mind. And then if you want to go get shot at, you go do that on your own time. So that's what I did. I graduated early from college. I'm from high school. I went to college at 16. So I really packed all that information in. And then I graduated with honors. I did my master's degree. I got straight A's. But my degrees were in psychology and forensic science, because you find something that you love, you get your degree, and then you can specialize in what you want, and that's my background. So I was going there. And while I was doing that, on breaks, I was visiting and I was conducting elections. So I was the tech support, the poll worker, which any of you can do, So I learned what to do from the bottom up. And that's my take on everything, is that same thing in the military, same thing in business. If you can't find empathy with the people that you're going to be the oversight, the authority for, you might not have compliance. And when I'm considering how we might program a software that's long lasting, like a voting software, and we're putting in security features, I'm utilizing my experience in first response in the military, working with people, and I'm building based off a long-term investment, right? It's not off the money. The money is very important. And I'm not sure if you guys looked around the news, it was big news. They're settling some of these voting technology companies. They have $1 billion, or at least over $500 million of money they can access and do what they want. It doesn't matter how they got it, because the money's in the business now. Now they can do what they want, right? But in my mind, you'll do what you want. And look how many times you've been red flagged for making money, right? So you have a product that's viable and you made money, but we can tear it apart in a heartbeat. And if we weren't the Americans that we are in our democracy, I don't think another country would have been so accommodating for a 30-year period, right? So VotRite's been taking its time. It's been in circulation. We've had other names and things of that nature. We've even had this international domestic stint. And what we did was we learned identically how to be the best. And then we programmed to do it. And that's why we learn the people. We learn the program. We make sure we are adept. The same way I would have been an officer in the military is the same way I'm going to be a president of the company, right? I know exactly what you're going through. I know what my compliance officer is going through. I know identically what you voters are going to encounter, because I live your life with you. I also teach special needs, and I go into the schools all the way through college. So that's the type of person I am. And I believe that the return monetary on that is going to be huge. And it just takes a little bit of time. And that's why in 2017, I finished all of this studying. And then I decided, okay, well, it's time for me to learn an executive position. So I simultaneously had this special needs company where I was the executive there, and I was bouncing these ideas, and I'm thinking, okay, so you got the hearts and minds down. How do you get the business down, right? So in 2017, we rebranded. We allowed everybody that I've trained in special needs to order off a menu. Not only the legal system are we accommodating, but we're actually asking our brother, sister, our friend with cerebral palsy or any sort of mental impairment, what do you want? So that you want to study who the president's going to be. You're not going to ask mom and dad. You're going to be the guy. And then you're going to go in, you're going to vote on a secret ballot, and you're going to do it perfectly. And I train them on purpose, and they do it perfectly. And even if they're not fully formed, they don't need a person voting for them. They need a stylist I just gave you at a different length, and they'll sit in their wheelchair and they'll vote. And guess what? Now we chose what we want. We no longer have to worry about gerrymandering laws or influence, right? Or external influence. And I just love that. And I think that what we're going to make from that 2017 rebranding is going to be eons more valuable than if we just settle for money.
And what percentage of these brands go out of business, right? This has been tried, I'm sure, multiple times, like mobile apps, 99% of them fail, right? Everyone's like, okay, we got to fix this problem. It's obvious there's a problem, but often people run out of capital, of course, and you have to know the right people. So what is the percent ballpark that have tried this?
Well, it's a little bit of a different market because everybody is a voter in the United States. At least every citizen is a voter who is above the age of 18 with certain exceptions. And the part that people forget is everybody votes in every election once you're eligible. Now, you can either do it by choice, you can go and make your voice heard, or you do it by default. You don't show up and you are automatically voting for the person that you like the least, or you're voting against the proposition that you like the most.
Yeah.
That's just the facts. So you vote either way. You can either make your choice or let somebody else choose against you.
But back to just the business, because
right.
a lot of students here are creating businesses. A lot of people listening to our show create businesses. Like what you are going after is under 1 percentile, I'm assuming, that actually succeed and pull this off. You guys have been in business for 8 years now, it sounds like. So kind of give us some facts around the business. What was the hardest thing to stay in business to this day, to get it actually operational? Because most of the time, like even Kevin sees it, people want to work with Florida Atlantic University. There's too much red tape. And eventually people give up. It's just such a long cycle to finally get your product into the market and actually being utilized. So can we share some of that data? Because some of these students here may want to do some of this stuff. And I think they need to know the realistic scenarios that you guys have gone through.
Absolutely. So dreams are what we're made of, right? In America, we're living the dream, right? But reality is even better. And I don't think I was ever taught that in any school setting. And what I mean by that is you're going to go through these opportunities and everything flows on a chart, right? You can always map out your success, your failure, how much effort. It can always be objective, right? And then we can measure it in time. But what you want to do is you want to have these long-term goals where you're considering that there are going to be some ebbs and flows in the way that you develop your business, right? You're considering that there are going to be some losses. So what I considered was with VotRite, when I was shadowing up until this 2017 period, we were running regular operations, which means we were doing regular elections for smaller private entities, which would be firefighters associations. Like everybody who's a firefighter has a union representative and they have to vote the same way I'm the president. They would have to vote president, vice president, that sort of thing. So we hold elections for those. We hold elections for locals, unions. Have you guys ever heard of those before, where you might join an electrician's union? And what they do for you is they protect you, but you have to vote for who is protecting you in that hierarchy, right? So we were running general operations and we were making a standard income, just like anybody else. It wasn't a federal contract. Federal contracts are maybe in the hundreds of millions, exceeding that range, but the amount of red tape is unheard of. And when you get into that contract, you don't realize who's shouldering that part of the burden, with that cost relationship. So you have to project that you have to be your own security net financially. And that's not always easy to do when it comes to politics and perception. So my business, our business, is slightly different in that when we build this, we build to fall into a pre-existing system that has been built over 100 of years of period of time, where you're looking at maybe the Secretary of Defense's mind, right? And you're comparing it to us coming out of college or high school and a hard charge. I'm on the front line. I know how to shoot a gun, but I have no idea how to protect the nation at any level of functioning, right? And how much that costs. And what I wanted to do with my company was to so eagerly embed it into the nation, right? And I go, all right, well, VotRite, it's a private entity. But in the beginning, I was like, well, I served my country. I've been vetted everywhere. And I thought that would be a cooler process because you know me, right? And you don't know anybody else. Everybody could be this Elon Musk. He's so confident, right? He goes in and he's like, you're going to give me this or I'm not going to give you the deal. That's been the news recently. And Angelica comes in and goes, I gave you, I gave you maybe my life. I'm still here. I gave you the firefighting in the beginning. I tried to change a few laws, make it easy for everybody. So we're neutral. We're no, in my opinion, we're no longer male and female unless we want that, traditional role. We're just those silhouettes working that role. And I love that. And they're going, okay, well, we're pre-existing. And we go off, who the outlier is. Not you, you're perfect. Now you're one of the silhouettes. So we're thinking about the other guy. And that's going to cost X amount of dollars to add a security feature that you didn't think of if you want to go do. And all of a sudden they're picking us apart at cost. And we're going, well, that's not the way to do it. Right. So in our personal endeavor, our professional endeavor, we're thinking, all right, well, it's not enough now. You learn this American role, you grow up, you're the good old boy, you're the good girl, and you do good and you're vetted and they trust you and then you get that deal, right? Just like you shake your friend's hand and you get into the business and now you're rich, So you think back and you go, well, why didn't that work? Well, it didn't work because a large amount of the population does not always see black and white. A large amount of the population, including the people in your very government, and it's important for you guys to know, just in case you want to do contracts, they're outliers. They're everybody. We're trending, right? Everybody who understands how to make a quick buck, including you guys, they're somewhere in the middle. And then they're outliers. The people that are designating the laws, the people that are doing specialized positions, they've had such a specialized focus, they're different. So in our personal business, we're looking at what do we do to afford people a contract for accessibility, to make it very easy to do a job as anybody from anywhere, right? And that's when I learned that level of functioning. So in our business venture, we changed it. And that's why we pivoted from, okay, we're the same business as anybody else. We have a lot of revenue. We have these circulating elections. It's easy, right? You call us, we come and do your election. It really is a piece of cake business idea, right? But what we want to do is we want to show more of a commitment, and we want to do it in a way that is favorable and desired by anybody, the outliers, the total population. So Angelica went through a period of training from that 2017, 2016 time. And that's when we sort of segued into, let's build a product for the United States of America. Yeah.
So basically what we've done is grown from doing private elections, which are manageable, okay, building on that trust, solving the security issues because they're easy to solve when it's a smaller population, but building it out to a system that will work nationally and taking that experience, building into the security, building into the accessibility, building into the transparency. So you can see as a voter that your voice is being recorded and heard. And that's what makes us different. We came from that private, building out to the public.
And the transparency is what I was saying was differentiating us from that heart and soul that I think all of you are going to be putting in initially. You have to think about the bigger picture. After you run through your personal resume, what are you to the next generation? What are you to the next company, right? That might utilize your services and tag on, because that's what we're doing. We're providing a platform to cast a vote for anything.
Yeah. So this is kind of a unique business model. If you think about it, right? And that at the federal level, let's take away all the kind of other elections and other stuff you're doing. The federal, the national level, right? They have a whole bunch of users, everybody who votes, right? So you may have 300 million, whatever the number is.
We wish.
It's over 18. Great. But you have one customer.
Actually,
right?
No.
I mean, one purchase or one buyer.
One
Nope.
contract. It's
Nope.
separated.
That doesn't work that way. As it turns out,
More red tape.
the all of the guidelines that are in place at the federal level are all voluntary. They're suggestions. By law, by constitutional law, elections are run at the state level, and generally not just the state level, at the county level. So in a particular state, you will have counties or parishes that run their own elections. Their systems may or may not have to be certified at the state level, but it's the county that's the customer. So you have not one customer.
That's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
You have
That's
three.
terrible news.
You have 3,550 customers. That's how many counties and parishes there are in the United States. Plus, you have metropolitan areas. So you may have a situation in New York where you've got New York, the City of New York Board of Elections, which is one customer, and then you've got the 5 boroughs, which is each a separate county. So you've got 6 customers just in the City of New York itself.
All right, so that's super complicated. Let's go another route before we get bogged down into that rabbit hole. Boy, that sounds annoying. So get the typical questions you get. Let's run through those since you know about the security, right? I'm
Yes.
sure the students have them, the basic ones, not the in-depth,
Right.
cyber warfare type of stuff. Like, what if I have two phones and I try to set up two accounts? What if somebody tries to set up an account for Dr. Kevin Cox on their phone and vote in my place? Like, just the fundamental that I'm sure all the students are wondering, how would I be able to vote from my phone?
Well, let's take a look at the two different cases. First of all, going to the polling place. Our responsibility starts once you get in through the door and you are recognized as a voter. We would then become the guardians of that information. We are the stewards of your voice at that point. So you go to the voting system, and with our system, it's different because it can be carried by one person. It's locked up, it's air gapped in terms of security, so it's not networked. Your system is standalone, and it has to be activated by both you, the voter, and the poll worker. You as the voter can make your choices on how you want your ballot presented. If you need to see things in high contrast, you can do that. If you prefer an audio ballot, you can do that. If you need the ballot in a different language, you can do that. And it's all made, that choice is made for you without having to have any paper. This is all on the electronic system. You can't change it if you're trying to hack it because you need physical access to it. It's not networked. Even if you were somehow to get physical access to a system, it can still be traced, and you'd need time. So you need physical access and time, and it can still be detected. So they've got that security built in at the very base level. And all kinds of cool stuff, like our system can run on batteries, depending on how you configure it, for the entire election. So the whole polling place loses power, the emergency lights come on, you keep voting. There's an issue with a machine that a judge says needs to be decided. The judge comes in, the proper credentials are presented. Fine, we pull that machine out. We put another machine into service because we got a backup right there, and voting continues, and everything that's happened on that system and to that point is still secure. So the whole voting process is still secure. We go to the mobile voting system. You have secure communication between the platform and the servers. So someone would actually have to steal your identity completely in order to vote on your phone. If they're going to do that, if they're going to completely steal your identity, do you think the thing they're going to go after first is your vote?
On your time.
Right, on your time. So
anytime you want.
So basically what they're saying is that I know who you are, and I'm going to hold all that information just until election day. I'm not going to get your card, the money from your bank account. The only thing I'm going to do is get one vote using that information. That doesn't make any sense.
No,
they
can be going to the Bank of America app.
That's right. They're going to be buying their new, their new scooter. They're going to be buying their new car. So that's what the difference is. Now, we still have all that secured. And not only that, we can tie it back to a unique PIN. We can show the chain of custody between that PIN and that vote. So you can't vote with that PIN and come back and say, well, gee, I never voted. Well, yes, you did. That PIN was used at this time. So we can tie those two things together while protecting your privacy. So they're tied together as an event, but not to a person. So you still get to vote privately, but you get to do it from your own trusted device. Okay, so we handled both of those sides of that same security issue on the two different platforms. And what we don't trust in this country anymore is paper. You're hearing a push to go back to paper ballots. How many of you have more than $10 in your pocket right now? Okay, there's a few.
Not many.
Right? How many of you have ever been into a convenience store and seen a sign that says we don't accept $50 or $100 bills anymore? Right? Okay. We have the most secure paper currency in the world. It's got multiple levels of protection of security, and we still don't accept that. But we're going to take paper ballots. Not talking about the environmental impact of printing all of that paper, not talking about the costs of storing all that paper, not talking about the ethics of not having enough ballots on site because people run out when they have the pre-printed ballots.
Or languages on
Or
site.
the languages on site, and the fact that you've got to store it for years. We can just talk about the cost of counting the paper.
Yes.
How many people know how many ballots were counted in the last presidential election?
He said 15 million for everybody listening online.
No. You were off by about a factor of 10. The total number of ballots that were actually cast and counted in that election was 156,302,318.
By humans.
Right. That's what the total of all the counted ballots.
And there's a bigger number here. The amount of time wasted, right?
Yeah.
From every
Oh,
single
yeah.
individual. Like when I go to vote, the line's down the block. I'm frustrated.
Well, see, but that's all theoretical.
And just all the time counting these ballots. I mean, it's so wasteful.
Let's go back to that. Now, I can give you the sources for all of these numbers, but the most popular method of counting ballots is something called stack and sort. And I can show you how that's done. But basically, it takes 4 people. You've got somebody who's calling the ballots, 2 people that are tallying it on the pre-printed forms, and then 1 person that's checking all of it. So all 4 people have to agree on each vote. So to take the presidential ballot from the last election, to do 1 ballot by those 4 people takes about 3 minutes per ballot. Okay. So about 20 ballots an hour. If you do that, it would take.
This is for one that we're counting one jurisdiction.
Okay, right. So we're counting, well, all of the ballots in the country, to count them all would take 7,815,115 hours.
ChatGPT could do it in like 7 minutes though.
And you need 4 people to do that. So if you take those 4 people for that number of hours and you pay them the federal minimum wage, because you want the people counting your ballots to make minimum wage, right? We're looking at a little over $225 million to count the paper ballots.
And the cost to produce those ballots, depending on jurisdiction, it sees maybe 10 million.
We're
per
not
election
talking
period.
about producing them, storing them, transporting them, feeding the people.
Money.
Right. The table setup, the food, the restroom facilities, none of that. That's just the cost of counting the ballots.
The parking lots even, right?
Yeah.
They're filled to the brim. People are parking on the grass. They're ruining the grass. Like I've seen it all. We're going to take a break and jump to this next section of this show. It's featured by OWL, where you could ask an entrepreneur a question. So if you're a Florida Atlantic University student, want to come on up, just file a line right here, and you could ask either of them a question. Okay, come on down. Oh, there's no one coming down today.
Scared them off.
Tess.
Yeah, we answered all their questions already.
I think so.
Way to go, boss.
Let's see.
Come on. Here we go. We got Tess coming on down.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tess. I'm actually the instructor for this course. My question was, this is like a really big problem, and we talk a lot about big problems require complex solutions, and just because it's hard doesn't mean it's a bad idea. But I'm curious, at the beginning stages of this venture, we talked already about passion, but what gave you the confidence to pursue this, knowing that there was a solution to a problem that's this big and this complex when you don't have specifically this technical background? I guess my question is, what were some of your strategies initially to figure out just, is this solvable? And then what gave you the confidence to decide that you were going to be the one to take it on?
Okay. Well, I was shadowing a business entrepreneur, Jim Kapsis, who has built about a dozen companies, very worthy, very reputable, long-term inventions, investments, things of that nature. And when I was being raised by the same gentleman, he used to say, you're going all out. Why are you always so hard charging? You're just going to do things for 2 years. And then what do I'm like, well, I did it. Right. So as I was learning and I started growing up, I'm thinking, well, how do I learn a long-term investment, a real business investment? And voting technology is something called recession proof. It basically what this is indicating is no matter what's going on in our democracy and our government structure, they will require voting. And furthermore, any company, any corporation set up through your tax ID that you're choosing, depending on what you choose, if you choose corporation, you have to produce bylaws to maintain compliance. And that's where voting technology has to be utilized of some kind, right? So when you're going for something like this, where you have to do the business, no matter if COVID hit, no matter what happens, we have to run this type of business. That is a business that'll outlast any of those former ideas. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I got a question. Where are you today? Right, we have an elections coming up in 2026. How many of those 3,500 counties have opted into a VotRite option?
So I will say that there's one more thing I'd like to remark on in our system. For right now, Europe is right now considering the mobile voting, and they're doing pilot programs for our overseas mobile voting, where they will allow our soldiers or anybody who's stationed there, a family member, whatever it might be, to vote in the election via mobile means, right? So we're producing these opportunities so that we can test, retest, and perfect what we're doing on the mobile side. But what we're doing is we're attempting to produce a contract with counties for our in-person. And what's going to set us apart is, like he was saying, the amount of time and manpower in audits, in follow-ups, right? Where people want to contest it and say, well, they should have chosen me, recount, right? VotRite is going to be at the forefront of offering that solution because we offer electronic audits. So nobody else has done this. Usually what they do is we print out that paper ballot in 2 languages, right? And then you scan it in something different and it produces a red or green light. What's going to allow us entry into these counties is that they no longer have to produce this option for extra incentive. They can go into our system, which you can carry, and at any point in time, it'll store the last recorded election, and then you can do spot checks. If you still like paper, you'll pick up a piece of paper. There's a randomly generated ID number, not your personal information, your PII. Instead, it's random. It's just your voting session that you appeared for. And we can do spot checks in the electronic system to provide 100% accuracy. So what we've been doing is we've been in the works and talking about how lucrative that deal is for the counties, right? And we've just been approved for certification through the EAC, the Election Assistance Commission, which is going to authorize our product to be utilized through the Board of Elections. So basically the Board of Elections is like mom and dad for the voting, right? So if any of these governments don't know what to do, they call the Board of Election and they say, who's certified? Whose technology should I use? So I do it professionally. So once we receive this certification, we've made an offering, we're working with different partners, things of that nature. Then we're going to proceed with opening ourselves up to all 51 states. So right now we're in that protocol process because
50 states.
50 and Puerto Rico. That's what I want. Yeah.
Okay.
I try. I really do.
So you still need that approval.
So there are 10 or 11 states that don't require certification. So we're in the works of discussions right now.
Okay.
But in order to slide in, everybody wants to see the EAC approval. So that's what we're working on right now
Yeah, that
with our
makes
offerings.
sense. All
Yes.
right.
Hi, my name is Funny. So I'm from India. I'm a master student here. Suppose if I want to start a business from scratch in the US, and scale it to some extent revenue, what's the one suggestion would you give for me?
Find something that you can start small and grow, something that has a good solid basis so you can gain the experience, gain the trust, and then grow from that.
Okay.
If you do it so it grows organically, you can do it organically and quickly. But if you try and hit the whole globe at once, all that viral stuff will blossom and die. You want something where you're going to get deep roots and take it out.
Okay.
It's great advice.
Thank you.
To piggyback that, how are you guys funding this business? Right. I mean, we were talking years and years of putting in effort to create these systems, this technology, developers. That's not cheap.
It's
And
not cheap.
manpower. So is this a bootstrap business?
So it's been
capital?
a bootstrap business for a very long time, and it's been very successful that way, which means we're picking ourselves up and we're moving, right? And then we do these businesses or these collateral deals and we'll be able to serve. Right now, what we're doing is we established a mini IPO, which is an offering opportunity that doesn't have to be big. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow VotRite transparency, which is something that other competitors, even the ones that are accredited, do not currently have. So the VotRite will be owned by the people in addition to the executive. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow this large platform. Imagine you're all board members, right? Because you bought in a share, whatever it might be. Now you actually have a say in how the American democracy is going to be facilitated at least once a year, if not twice a year, right? And that's huge. That's a huge responsibility. And it comes at a very reasonable cost. And that's the methodology that we're going to use for long-term investment. But bootstrapping is effective also for anybody that wants to have more control over the opportunity until they're ready, you know?
So let's reverse, because that's the future, of course. But up until this time, when you say bootstrap, is it like who's the one writing these checks? Do they have side businesses, operation?
So I've been
side, because let's be honest, this is very expensive to go after. It's a very long cycle, and you guys are going after a grand slam, hundreds of millions of people using it, other countries. So
And
I just want to make it
imagine
realistic
it's all
for everybody. in this room.
U.S. development, right?
It's all U.S. development and its allies, and I think that's important.
So that's
you know?
even more expensive. So
So-
yeah, that's a fair
Yeah.
question, because for the U.S., this goes back for students, if you're curious, to the kind of government contracting, especially military contracting. Sometimes I work with founders that develop really cool tech products, but they use overseas developers. They can't typically get a federal, and they cannot get a military contract. So they have to have developed everything stateside or with
So
close allies. but
you'll
usually
remember
stateside.
my long-winded intro, right, about the outliers and the trend. So you're going to find that a lot of these people that serve their country in the United States did so with a different origin and much different intention than what we're briefed on the ground, which means that they're much more accepting of inventions that were well thought. Okay. And I just want to answer your question. So like I explained to you, my resume, I've been working on average 6 jobs at a time. And as I told you, Jim Kapsis, the CEO, semi-retired, which is what I'm taking the role from. He's been working at developing businesses, you know, there's about a dozen, you know, over a 35-year period. Yeah, patents, things of that nature. So with his expertise in certifying and securities and business, and I'm able to generate the excess revenue, and then we obviously have those contracts that we've been doing for decades. Regular business, I mean, the unions, the firefighters associations, that's been how we've been managing this investment. But when we're requiring inventory that exceeds what the norm is, you know, parishes are easy, but when we're talking about New York and things that they're going to need a lot more, that's when we want the people to participate. And we think that that's going to be a perfect relationship. I think it's going to be even better than using foreign venture capitalists, things of that nature, because honestly, what's the difference if you embark on creating a technology and you need to say that you designated it all in America, which by the way, my best friends come fly in from India and then they live here for half a year. What do I say about them if they're in tech? They're not allowed to build for anything that we might like in America because they were born in India, right? Or things. So you have to think. That's why when I was explaining to you that sort of hearts and minds, that soul, that was how many different considerations I had to give on a daily basis to think, well, how do I pitch a product? How do I make it as secure as it is while being real? Because even if we're developing an American technology in America, am I supposed to personally vet every person that I work with? And you know,
and parts.
and I'm supposed to say, have you slept in America for 6 months straight before you touch my product? You know what I mean? I have difficulty understanding that foundation other than what is socially acceptable. And that takes a lot of time to realize. And it's not necessarily something you can discuss easy, which is why I said, if your hearts and minds are in it, it's a good idea to learn a lot of collaterals, you know, in addition to what you want, because then you know exactly how to talk.
And just so everyone could grasp this, my intuition's telling me you've been running at a loss this entire time,
So,
right? I'm
would
just
say that.
assuming.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that.
Yeah,
But I don't feel that.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, because the value of the company is the activity. No different than Facebook was $1 billion brand, had no revenue coming at the time. It, you know,
It only matters how it runs.
know,
That's
had
reality.
its official valuation, right? So
Yes.
data is very valuable, and you have a lot of data. So you could be running at a loss, but not in the real world.
Not
right?
yeah.
You
not
know,
it's our
got
day-to-day
a very large
operations.
valuation, really
Yeah.
compounding based on all the data that you guys are collecting.
And that's why when we have the people-owned business, I think it's going to set it apart in a magnificent way, because now we choose what we want to put into, you know?
And that's when our sweat equity, and we've had a lot of sweat equity, is going to pay off in this thing, because
Absolutely.
we
going to pay
are
off.
passionate. And remember, you can always go to VotRite.com. That's VOTRITE.com to learn more about how our business operates and what we do and where we're going.
Nice plug. And it sounds like you're getting really close, and I would love it if I could vote from my mobile device.
Yes.
So
Me
much
too.
easier.
too.
Yes.
No more lines for sure.
Well, not only that, but participation in the early parts of the elections where the general population doesn't vote. How many people voted in the primary elections? How many people voted in the general elections? Notice the difference?
Ooh.
And it's the primary elections where they choose the candidates.
Yeah.
So if anything, your participation in a primary election has greater leverage.
And I think the only way you would have known that is if you felt compelled or motivated to become informed, right? And that's what a lot of this collateral education is about, at least for this particular business. Now, we've seen the models where you build a voting technology. Anybody can build the software that's capable of code writing. It doesn't matter where you're born. You can be honorable and you can plug in the algorithm, right? But when it comes to what you want, those companies that ran up the chain, they didn't have those considerations. And boy, were there big deficits. And we're not going to have that. So
let me give you an example from my past. One of the things that I did was write cash register software. And if you've ever run a cash register, you know that it's really difficult to do because it's always written from the perspective of making life easier for the 3 people that work in the back room. Before I wrote the code for the cash register, I ran the cash register for a month. I learned from the best cashiers. And when I wrote the software, I wrote it from the perspective of the cash register operator, because I figured the people who are in the back room would have to adapt. So that's the kind of perspective we're bringing to the voting system. We're writing it from the perspective of the voter.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure that the results are clear and transparent and verified and secure. But what we're focusing on is the voter's experience.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks for joining us on the Shrimp Tank today. If everybody's tuning in, you catch this episode up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. Of course, reach out to them on social media, reach out to them on their website. If you want to learn more, if you want an internship, you want a career, everything's up on their website. We'll be back next Wednesday, right around 1 o'clock. Take care, everybody.
thank you.
Thank you.